He called himself a serial killer. In his own chilling confessions, he laid out a narrative not of a troubled man, but of a predator stalking his prey through the city streets. He even compared himself to the fictional slasher, Michael Myers, a soulless shape of evil from a horror film. According to prosecutors, he adopted this persona, believing his actions were part of some grand, terrifying performance. But in the stark reality of a courtroom, the performance came to an end. And when the judge read his sentence, a staggering 261 years behind bars, Joshua Dotson smiled. A final, defiant act in the face of justice. This isn't Hollywood. This is Memphis, Tennessee, a city that became the unwilling backdrop for one man's monstrous fantasy. A man who turned real life into his own horror movie and left 5 people dead, including his pregnant girlfriend and her unborn child. The victims weren't characters in a script. They were sons, daughters, and parents, their lives brutally cut short. Their stories deserved to be told. Viewer discretion advised. The following program contains graphic details and mature themes that may be disturbing to some audiences. In the sprawling city of Memphis, most residents had never heard the name Joshua Dotson. He was an anonymous face in the crowd. But in 2020, that anonymity was shattered, and his name would become synonymous with a shocking series of violent crimes that left the community reeling. The event that brought Dotson into the spotlight was a tragedy of profound cruelty. Prosecutors say he murdered his former girlfriend, Jessie Dotson, who was 7 months pregnant with their child. According to court records, the attack was not a random act of violence, but a calculated execution. He shot and killed her and her unborn baby in cold blood, extinguishing 2 lives in a single brutal moment. For this horrific double homicide, the justice system moved decisively. In 2023, a judge sentenced him to 102 years in prison. For the family of Jessie Dotson, it was a measure of justice, but it was far from the end of the story. As investigators meticulously worked the Dotson case, they uncovered ballistic evidence that pointed to a disturbing pattern. The weapon used to kill Jessie and her unborn child was not new to their files. It was a ghost from past, unsolved homicides. Detectives started linking Dotson to 3 other murders, stretching back to 2019. The trail began in 2019 with the death of Divion Parker. His case had grown cold, another unsolved file in a busy city. But now, investigators had a prime suspect. The timeline then jumped to 2020, just months before Jessie Dotson's murder. 2 more names emerged from the cold case files, Renita Bennett and Reginald Anderson. Prosecutors allege they were Dotson's next victims, their lives cut short in a separate brutal incident. Across Memphis, a web of violence was slowly being untangled. Behind each name, Parker, Bennett, Anderson, and Dotson, were families, friends, and futures that were stolen. These were not just statistics on an evidence board, they were cherished members of a community, now bound together by a shared, unimaginable loss. Headline after headline began to paint a terrifying picture. Prosecutors argued that Dotson hunted his victims, leaving a trail of devastation in his wake. The city of Memphis was forced to count the dead as the true scale of his alleged crimes came into focus, revealing a predator who had moved silently through their streets for years. When Joshua Dotson faced the judge again in 2025, the air in the courtroom was thick with anticipation. This wasn't just another hearing, it was the final act in a tragedy that had haunted the community for years. Standing before the court, Dotson pleaded guilty to 3 additional counts of first-degree murder, bringing the total number of his admitted victims to 6. His plea was delivered with a chilling calmness, a stark contrast to the gravity of the charges. It was during this proceeding that the most haunting moment unfolded. According to court records, when addressing the prosecution, Dotson made a declaration that would be seared into the memory of everyone present. He proclaimed, "I am a serial killer." To underscore his point, he compared himself to Michael Myers, the fictional, emotionless embodiment of evil from the film Halloween. The courtroom, once buzzing with hushed whispers, fell into a profound, heavy silence. The comparison wasn't just a pop culture reference. It was a window into a psyche devoid of empathy, a man who saw his own horrific actions through the lens of a horror movie villain. Prosecutors argued this was no empty boast or theatrical display. They framed it as a raw, unadulterated confession. It was a man, stripped of any pretense, proudly claiming ownership of his brutal legacy. Here was a man with no remorse, proud of his body count, and utterly disconnected from the immense pain he had inflicted. In response, Judge Lee Coffey delivered a sentence designed to ensure Dotson would never again pose a threat. He added 159 years to his existing sentence, bringing the total to 261 years in prison. These were consecutive terms, meaning each sentence must be served one after the other, a legal guarantee of perpetual incarceration. The cell door closes. He will grow old here. No freedom, no redemption, just years stacking into silence. For Joshua Dotson, the final scene is a lifetime spent within 4 concrete walls, a stark and permanent epilogue to a self-authored horror story. For the families, the wounds never heal. The Shelby County DA called it justice that comes too late. 5 murders, 1 unborn child, a killer who wanted a title and earned life behind bars ×3. Some people chase fame, others chase infamy. Joshua Dotson chose both, and it cost him everything. If you want raw true crime, no filters, no feelings, subscribe now to PBT Network True Crime. We cover the cases that other channels won't touch. Drop a comment below. Do you think Joshua Dotson was born evil, or did Memphis make him? Subscribe to PBT Network True Crime. New cases weekly.